the blue corner. Wearing tonight multicolored trunks trimmed in black, he weighed an officially 133 pounds. In 19 professional bouts, his record stands at 18 victories. No defeats, one draw with 8 wins coming by way of knockout from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Here's the undefeated Morgan Big Chief Fitch. And next, his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner. Wearing solid red trunks, he too weighed in 133 pounds. In 12 professional bouts, he stands perfect with 12 victories. No defeats, 6 wins coming by way of knockout, hailing from and fighting out of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Here's the undefeated Yamaguchi Falcao. And your referee in charge of the action, Robert Bird.
Let's go. Okay. You guys had your instructions in the dressing room. The only thing I'm going to remind you of now is when I say stop, what that means is stop whatever you're doing, give me a clean break. Abre pare, okay? No Terry Gopes, fuera de go, okay? Right here, it's kind of high, so anything on this belt is going to be good. Anything on this belt right here is going to be good. Protect yourself at all times, obey my commands at all times. Gentlemen, let's do this.
Yes, sir, let's do this. And I am not alone here tonight. My esteemed colleagues, Teddy Atlas and Bernard Hopkins. Teddy, what do you expect from Yamaguchi Falcao, the Brazilian?
I think he's going to dominate. You ask me a question, I'll give you an answer right to the point, like a straight right hand. In this case, it would be a straight left hand because Falcao is a southpaw, so that would be his power punch. Both of these fighters have been involved in head clashes. I'm not going to be shocked if I saw some red. I hope I don't see any red. Hope we don't see any red. That's going to impact this fight. But when is a better record not indicative of a better fighter? I think this might be a perfect example of that. Fitch, obviously, the better record. He's undefeated against Falcao, who has 2 losses. But Fitch has been in there with a lot of soft opposition. 11 of his opponents had losing records.
All right, those 2 losses were in the World Series of Boxing. This is the first time that Morgan Fitch ever faces a southpaw fighter. What's that challenge like, B-Hop?
Well, that challenge is going to be more of positioning, where his body and feet is at compared to his adversary in front of him. But, you know, what I see is who gets there first, who uses the jab more and set up the shots to come. And, you know, this is a fight of really styles. And we see a southpaw versus, you know, orthodox. And positioning. Positioning is key. And then you have to fire. You have to punch off those positions.
Fitch was saying more of it was mental than physical, but that's easier said before the fight begins. Yamaguchi Falcao, he comes from a fighting family. He actually gave up his position in his weight class to allow his brother to also have the Olympic dream. Many people thought he was a gold medal hopeful, and his brother ended up winning silver. He won bronze. It's pretty impressive for the fighting Falcao family.
And you got to look at that. Maybe he didn't want to fight his brother, wound up being in the same ring, throwing punches at each other. So it was a really a gentleman, man, you know, thing to do.
I'll tell you all about that later on, how he may or may not want to follow in the Klitschko's footsteps of not facing each other in the ring.
I'll tell you another reason why I think that Fitch might just not be up to par with his record, and Falcao, before the night's over, might be much the better guy. We'll find out. It has to happen.
There's that head clash, Teddy.
Yeah, I'm not shocked. But I did a little x-ray of the records. I think it tells you something about the validity of Fitch's 18-0-1 record. He has a draw versus a 19-21-3 opponent, and he was on the floor 2 times. And it does make you think that Falcao might wind up being dominant, although right now, Fitch looking for that, you know about this one, Bernard, he's looking for that southpaw killer, the straight right hand.
Yes, and the straight right hand and left hook behind it will be good.
So far, it's just that one punch that Morgan Fitch has been able to put on Yamaguchi Falcao, as now he starts to throw that jab. A lot of pep in Fitch's step early on here in this fight, as round 1 is about to come to an end here at the MGM Grand Garden
Got a bell
Arena
coming, guys.
in Las Vegas, Nevada.
It fades, and sometimes it fades quickly. That talent, I think, in Gamboa has faded. I'm curious to see how much is left of that brilliant, sun-like talent that I saw years ago. I'm excited to see if we see that explosiveness we once saw.
If his business acumen and business decision-making was as good as his boxing talent, it would have been a different story. And we'll talk about exactly how he lost his way as a professional in dealing with several promoters. But Yamaguchi Falcao now coming out, throwing his hands and trying to use that southpaw stance to his advantage. His father's a famous martial artist in Brazil, and his father would love to see Yamaguchi and his brother Esquiva step into the ring, but his mother has said, I will beat both of you guys if you decide to ever step into the ring.
And she meant that.
Oh,
she
yeah.
meant that. And, you know, it's motivation not to do it. I know that.
You know, I've been talking about how at the top where I believe Falcao should be able to really take control of this fight at some point. But one of the possible disadvantages he has, and it's curious, it parallels tomorrow night's big fight a little bit. Falcao's a smaller man. His entire career, except his last fight, he's been between 158 and 161.
Watch your feet.
You know, while Fitch has fought most of his career at or around 168 pounds, super middleweight. So you would expect Fitch maybe to push the envelope a little bit with that size advantage. See, these are spots here where you have these dead spots where whoever used that jab, and Bernard touched on it earlier, being a great champion he is, it's obvious that that's the first thing he would see, how important that jab is. And you can steal around right here where there's really nothing going on here, whoever's using their jab a little bit more.
And you know, Fitch in the fighter meeting saying, I'll be dictating the pace with my jabs, with pivots, being smart. I'll a step ahead on him, and I will do that, and I will win this fight. Do you see that happen?
But he's not doing that. No, I don't see it. I don't see it happens, and I don't see it happening often. Because right now that jab always supposed to be out there, even if he's not actually trying to hit a target, but just to have it out there to set other things up, and that's how you started.
My mentor, who I happen to think is the best in the business of all time, Customato, used to say, Bernard, when you're in doubt, use your jab.
4, 3, 2.
He fell in, left himself available, did Mr. Fitch, but Falcao did not pull the trigger on the counter. Now, if you have a good corner, right there, they're going to say, hey, he reached in, you missed it, but you're going to get another chance as the fight goes on. Be ready for it, big guy.
Yeah, because he took the bait. Fitch took the bait, but he didn't really pay a big price, as you said, Teddy. And I think if you do that often, he will pay the big price later.
You're right.
Fitch is a Homa Native American heritage. He feels that this spotlight, because he feels this is his dream come true, fighting in Las Vegas on a big fight weekend on ESPN. It's the pinnacle of what he's done so far as a pro. Would give him a great platform for Native Americans to see what is possible and what he's overcome in life.
Falcao has been in with a much better opposition. I touched on it. Fitch has been in there with 11 of his opponents at losing records. So Falcao is more fight ready.
And Falcao is still trying to, like, you know, make something happen. He's always like a second or two behind, but he's trying to, you know, put at least some combinations together. And Fitch is not capitalized on it. He should throw more punches to make Falcao really react different.
You know, you look with the southpaw, the guy in the red, you look for the power punch, that being the backhand, the left hand. But look out for that sneaky right hook he's got there, Bernard.
That sneaky right hook is always there, Teddy. You're right. They want to cut you off, but you're right. I mean, I believe that's going to be one of the punches that really changes this as the fight goes on.
Just keeping that left hand low, and as Teddy and B-Hop say, that opens up the door for Yamaguchi Falcao to put in work.
I noticed early on that Fitch has a little scar tissue over that left eye. So far, no problem.
All right, stop, break.
Fitch has that leading forward type of style where his weight, Teddy, is up front. It's on his left leg. And if, you know, if he can capitalize on that without getting hit, it'd be good. But he's being first, and that's good. But if he wasn't being first, he'll get countered real quickly and easily because he can't get out the way in time.
Yeah, you're right, Bernard. In other words, he gets top heavy sometimes.
Yeah, very top heavy, and he's leaning forward, and he's on that left leg.
Yamaguchi Falcao was receiving instructions from Nelson Lopez Jr., who is in his corner for the first time as a pro. They did a training camp in Florida, and his instructions were, I want you to finish up with that left cross. He wants 3-punch combinations, and he wants explosiveness from Yamaguchi Falcao, and it looks like he's listening to his corner man, a little bit of the Philly shell. Must have seen some B-hop in his early career, and here are the power punches through the first 3 rounds. So Fitch outlanding power punches by 5 over Yamaguchi.
No, stop.
Yamaguchi is not really doing what his corner is telling him. He should be coming right out with a bell rung, doing those same combinations since he's locked in his mind, since he just got, just received the information. So to me, he's not really listening to his corner. Maybe he'll pick it up as the fight goes on, or the round at least. But if he don't, he will always be playing behind Fitch's jab and combinations when they come.
You know, I mentioned a couple rounds ago that Falcao is the smaller man. You can see that. I mean, you look up, you see Fitch, physically the bigger guy. And you would wonder where, or if and when, the confidence will start to come to him, to Fitch that is, that maybe he'll be a little more aggressive.
And if Fitch be a little more aggressive, he can make things happen like this. The shoe shine, or the shoe, that was just basically just, you know, I'm getting trapped in the corner and needing to find a way to get out. That was the way to get out. But the pressure, as Teddy said, need to be pressured more, need to be put more to make something happen at the end. Because French got a good style coming in. If he let his hands go, he can make something happen really in his favor.
I don't think that Yamaguchi Falcao understood how big his opponent was going to be when we were in the fighter meetings, because he said, I'm not just coming here to win. I want to win by knockout, get my name out there, look impressive, and people will demand to see me in big fights. But I think Fitch is really throwing a wrench in that plan. Although there he gets caught with a nice left.
These punches are blazing punches. They're not actually punches that's landed solidly. So he's not really getting the respect like we see or think, because his punch is not really flush.
There's the guy I was looking to show up a little bit, being a bigger guy, getting aggressive a little bit there, Fitch.
And that was a slip, Yamaguchi Falcao.
Yeah, but you can just see his attitude,
yes.
you know,
Bring
Bernard.
the body.
Yeah, and look at him. I mean, he's the bigger guy. At some point, somebody maybe, it's simple in the corner, you say, hey, behave like a bigger guy.
Impose your will. That's what he wanted to do. He still has yet to do it as round 4 comes to an end.
Help.
Definitely a slip. You see the feet tangled. Southpaw and orthodox fighters always have this problem. And you see it right there. The right leg and the left comes together, and that's the slip.
Always a danger. It's always about who establishes that footwork, that outside foot that's going to either allow you to move laterally or block the exits. And so far, Yamaguchi Falcao has that lane covered.
Position. I mean, they southpaw and orthodox, they're going to have those problems. And as Teddy said earlier, their head clashes. If they too close, and you have French who's leaning in, who really fights on his left leg, all the way up front, you're going to have those headbutts, and you're going to have trips and slips.
Let him up. Here we go.
Some lunging there by Yamaguchi Falcao, and Tom Yankello, you'll be happy to hear, Teddy, in the corner was telling him, I want you to be aggressive. He wants Fitch to go forward.
Yeah, well, what I was alluding to. early. And look, he's the bigger guy. He's got the bigger man in there. You can see he's almost dramatically bigger than Falcao. And you can see the temperament of Falcao. It's more the counterpunch, Bernard. You can see it. You know, he looks to set traps. They go back 3 inches. Hope that you'll come in a couple where he can create a little bit of a gap where he can counter. And he's sneaky. He's sneaky here. He'll look to counter, and then if you're waiting a little too long, all of a sudden he'll jump in with some real rapid, quick punches like that. He didn't get him off, but that was his intention. So I think you see where Fitch has the advantage as far as physicality, if he uses it, and that means going forward. And as far as Falcao goes, he's got the advantage with the quickness, a little quicker.
And Falcao is always waiting for 1 or 2 punches that he can counter on. And if punches come one by one, he wants to counter. But if they come rapid fire, he stands back and watch. And that's where Fitch should be able to capitalize on that. But he's not, because he's not throwing more than 1 punch. He's only throwing 1 punch. We need to throw more than 1 punch to make Falcao really react and overthink his target.
You know where he's really missing the boat for me, Bernard, is Mr. Fitch. He's not pressing behind the jab. Because if he pressed behind that jab, he would keep Falcao, the smaller guy, defensive where he couldn't pot shot. But by not jabbing enough, he's given Falcao opportunities to use those quicker hands and to just machine gun him a little bit. Pot shot him, bah, 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 real quick as he comes in, and sneak shots in like that. Now that would never have gotten off, and maybe that captures
without the jab.
Maybe that captures the round for him. Maybe that captures the eye of, nothing going on here. Maybe that captures the eye of the judge. Again, no jab coming at him, so he's free to snipe a little bit, free to machine gun a little bit.
Halfway through this fight, here is Golden Boy Boxing on ESPN. All right, but this is our first fight of the evening. Yamaguchi Falcao in the red trunks out of Brazil. Bronze medalist in London 2012, and his opponent, Morgan Fitch, who was born in Louisiana, but when he wanted to become a boxer, went to Tom Yankello in Pittsburgh, and he's been there since the age of 24. We see the punch stats. So far, the percentages are pretty close, but Fitch has outlanded Falcao by over 20 punches. Does that surprise you, B-Hop?
No, it don't really surprise me, because the styles and what he's doing and what Falcao is not doing, and that's what's not surprising me. But, you know, with Falcao, he has to continue now to not only just shoot 1 punch, but try to throw 3 or 4 punches. Listen, he's a southpaw, straight in left hand and left foot, Teddy. And if he do that more often, he would at least have Fitch
I think
second guessing himself.
I don't know if we're watching different fights, but I think Falcao's starting to take control of his fight. You know, I listen to you guys, I start crying.
But he had his moments.
I start crying
Teddy,
for Fitch.
Teddy, well, here's a napkin.
And
so here's a napkin, and you start getting those tears because the shirt is getting wet.
B-Hop's got a nice handkerchief, by the way.
He's not being more active. He's not being more active with it.
Hey,
he's having his moments. This round, he is dominant. This round, he's doing more than the last round.
I thought he started the last round, started to really take control. His speed is a big advantage here, and his confidence is coming right now. And you see Fitch, the bigger man, being backed up. That's not a good sign if you're the bigger guy.
Watch to see Fitch throw a straight left hand. No, straight right hand, then a left hook behind it, because the southpaw is coming in with his head up, and it doesn't look like he got good foot movement when he comes in.
And some of the ability of Yamaguchi Falcao showing now, but Teddy, how much of it has to do with how little Fitch is doing now at this point of the fight?
Yeah, listen, the reason why he's doing little is Falcao is getting off before him. He's making him hesitant. He's making him think too much. He's making him worried about coming in. He's beating him to the mark. I mean, he's a more versatile guy, Falcao. I talked about it, put myself on the line a little bit. It's not over, but early on I said I think Falcao's going to win this fight. And right now he's just showing more diversity. I mean, Fitch is looking like a real one-dimensional guy right now. He's stuck with his feet. He's not changing position much. He's just slowly standing in front and walking forward in the same sort of way where Falcao can control him. And he's controlling him.
What I didn't see earlier is Falcao boxing now. Look at him, Bernardo. He's actually boxing. He has a little stutter step, and then he let his punches go.
Fitch come out of that corner, his right eye is now inflamed. So
Yeah, I got $10 out, by the way, guys.
How's that?
No, because you guys were starting a collection for, for Falco.
you're throwing me in
but
this
it's not over
basket.
yet.
I'm in
It's
the
not
middle,
over.
Teddy.
Okay,
It's
you're
not
the
over.
mediator. You're the
Falco,
mediator.
yeah.
My man over here, the great middleweight champion.
He's stingy. 10 bucks is a lot of cash.
You know what? I'm ready to put into the collection there for Falco. I was feeling so bad. And meanwhile, I'm wondering, am I in another arena? Because for me, Falco's taking complete control of this fight.
Well, I think he won the last 2 rounds. In fact, I know he won the last 2 rounds, but we never know what the judge is looking at. But this fight has clearly it's changing, as we see. It's changing in momentum of Falco.
I have a rule with fighters in the gym where you don't stand in front, Bernard, waiting. I have it like a shot clock. In basketball, you have a shot clock. You can't dribble too long. You get the ball stolen. You got to shoot within a certain amount of time. I have a 2-second shot clock rule with my fighters in the gym. If you're in front within 2 seconds, one went down 2 times, boom, you got to do something. Either do something or get out. Don't stand there, because if you stand in front too long, you get beat to the punch. And that's exactly what's happening to Fitch. He waits in front. He's not paying attention to that shot clock, to that punch clock. He waits too long, and then the quicker guy does that, beats him to the mark.
And he's not reacting, he's waiting to react. And that's what he's getting beat to the punch, and he's getting countered.
Well, what does this say about Yamaguchi Falcao? We're seeing this, but he's not really taking advantage because he's being sporadic with his punch output as well. We've seen him being out-punched by Morgan Fitch, who seemingly is just standing.
See, that's where a good corner comes in. And Bernard can attest to this, too.
Information is key.
Yeah, it really
The right
is.
information.
It really, and sometimes it's X's and O's. That's what you need. Sometimes it's just motivation. It's just, hey, come on, let's get on the gas a little. You're on the brakes a little too much. Get on the gas a little more.
And no, trainers is not just trainers, they motivators. And this where the motivation comes in, when you must have that motivator / trainer saying, look, what are you doing? You got the opening. We worked on this in the gym. Do it.
Mihab, what's the best thing Brother Nassim Richardson ever told you when you were in the ring?
Hit, not get hit.
Oh, come on, man.
Swim without getting wet.
Motivation. When did he get
Motivation.
in you and say, all right, man, go get it?
You took the guy's best shot. Now we in the fight. Let's go. We work hard. We train hard. Be smart and be first. Be smart and be first. Similar to what Teddy was saying. Be first. You can't stay there with dead headlights and look at a guy.
Don't have to ask Teddy. That's all on tape. You ever want to see Teddy's best hits? It's on YouTube.
I'm putting that $10 back in my pocket. Falco's got control of this fight.
That's all.
Tom Yankello got in Morgan Fitch's face and said, I want you to back him up. I want you to be aggressive. I want you to go get him, as they worked over that left eye, Teddy, because they're swelling. And it's been under control, but it's getting worse round by round.
Yeah, I think about 5 rounds ago I mentioned that Fitch has scar tissue over that left eye. I had noticed that, and so obviously that's something they've had problems with before.
One thing also, Teddy Fitch said in the corner, am I cut? Am I cut? Am I cut? He was worried about the cut more than he was worried about getting instructions that will go into the next round and maybe put the pressure.
Oh.
What they asking for, the pressure on
There,
Falcao.
the left by Falcao finally stops Morgan Fitch in his tracks, Teddy.
Yeah, that's a very good point by Bernard. You know, a lot of people will just kind of gloss that over. Oh, there's a good left hand, a power hand, and a southpaw who's faster, more confident, and completely in control. And I don't have to give him anything for his collection. Nothing, nothing at all. But to Bernard's point, he was saying that in the corner, while he's supposed to be getting the advice, absorbing the advice, concentrating on what he has to do, let everyone else do their job, he's worried about the cut. In other words, and I know this is going to sound a little bit, you know, insensitive to a lot of people out there, but this is a tough sport. He's not a pro yet. That's what it tells me, Bernard. He's not a pro yet. Because
Definitely not mentally.
No, because a pro is a guy that understands that's part of the business, that's part of the landscape sometimes. You can get cut, forget about it, do your job, don't get distracted. He's not there mentally as a fighter yet.
That's what you pay your cut man for in the corner. That's why
Exactly.
you have him there.
And it's actually Yamaguchi Falcao, it seems. He has some blood trickling from his left eye.
I don't know how close this fight is, Teddy. I know you put your $10 back in your pocket, but no one's doing anything this week.
No, but I tell you one thing, the quickness of Falcao, the sneakiness of Falcao, where he can jump in every once in a while and get away with it, that allows him to stay a little bit ahead and keep an edge each round, where he can just explode forward. And as I say it, he does it, and he gets away with it. And again, fundamentals, lack of fundamentals from Fitch. No jab, so Falcao comes right in that front door.
And Falcao is zeroing in on that left eye. He's very zeroing with the straight left, straight right. He seems to be zeroing in with those 1-2 punches straight down, and it's affecting Fitch because he's looking and blinking and trying to fire one shot to get him off.
A whole different fight when Fitch throws punches, but it's Yamaguchi Falcao taking control here on Golden Boy Boxing on ESPN.
Nice job by Falcao. No collection for him.
So we're 9 rounds into this fight. Yamaguchi Falcao said he wanted to look explosive. He's a young prospect on the Golden Boy Boxing stable of fighters. And B-Hop, you are a partner. What are your thoughts on what you've seen out of Yamaguchi Falcao?
Well, I see progress. But explosive I didn't see tonight. But you give and take, you got to see who he's fighting, and he's getting some resistance there. But I mean, it's in process. I mean, it's work in process, but it's there. He has some more to experience as time goes on. But you know, you see that you have something to work with, that we have something to work with. And one thing I see that he know how to stay patient, maybe a little too patient, where he should step on the gas a little bit to make a statement, as he said in a fighters meeting. So I'm looking for the future. I'm looking for something good out of it.
This is a talent-laden division, though, Teddy, where you can't just sit back and wait, because 160 is where the big boys fight.
Yeah, I mean, middleweight has always been an intriguing, very interesting weight class throughout the history of this sport. For me, it's always been, because it's a combination of speed, talent, you have to have technique, power, you have all those things. You know, you go to the bigger guys and just sometimes size and power takes over. But this is still a catch weight, an in-between weight where, yeah, the power is there, but also the technique and finesse is so important. All the fundamentals so important. By the way, that's not a fundamental. That's just showing off a little bit, and that tells you Falcao is the boss right now. He's completely in control, and he's feeling a little cocky.
Confident, real confident. And what I like to see is take that little confidence and now translate that into letting your hands go and make a statement. Because, listen, here in the middleweight division, and we know who's sitting at the middleweight division. And if you want to be talked about in the next fight or 2, 3 or 4 fights from now or whenever, you must make statements now. And there's nothing wrong with that. If every division out there, there's over 20 divisions, you must make statements now to separate yourself from the contenders or the pretenders.
And if anybody has an authority to speak about the middleweight division, I'm sitting right next to him. His name is Bernard Hopkins. Alongside Teddy Atlas, I'm Bernardo Osuna, and this is a fight where there's a lot of chances for Yamaguchi Falcao, and he's really not taking advantage of them. A lot more show, but not as much substance as I expected.
Only statement I saw that little poor man's alley shuffle give me was maybe he'll get a shoe endorsement. I mean, it's not doing nothing for me as far as showing that he's going to be one of the leaders in the middleweight division.
He's basically sitting on his hands for the last 4 or 5 rounds, allowing Yamaguchi Falcao to take control of this fight.
Yeah, my scorecard, we haven't been showing scorecards, so you know what? I'm just going to blurt mine out. I have it 88-83 in favor of Falcao.
Not surprising at all. Definitely not surprising. Falcao's been not only boxing when he wanted to, he also been just shooting that straight left, as Teddy mentioned earlier in the fight, and he now just throwing it so sharp. I mean, this is already rounds in. I mean, we're in the 10th round, he's throwing that straight left hand, with mustard behind it.
And it's interesting to see that Morgan Fitch, after starting the fight with a great right cross, which is, as Teddy said, the one that neutralizes the southpaw, it just has not been there the rest of the fight.
And look, some of it has to do with Falcao, as I kind of alluded to earlier. He's the better fighter. He's been in there with the better opposition. He's the better guy. He's the more versatile guy. He's the more dimensional guy. You know, he can do more things. And we're looking at the hands, but we're forgetting about the feet. I think the feet of Falcao has given Finch problems, where he can move to the side, he can all of a sudden fade out on him. He's not giving him the position, the setup position. He wants to sit there and just chuck that right hand. He's chucking it at shadows, and it's hard to chuck a right hand at shadows.
And this is Morgan Fitch's 20th professional fight, the first time he steps in against a southpaw, and maybe that troubled him some too, D-Hop.
Yeah, it's a possibility, right? But we train for a fight school. We got fights coming up, and I'm pretty sure he had, you know, styles to match similar to what he had to fight tonight. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think it's based on being outclassed or, you know, being in a situation where he couldn't get off first or he got off just when he needed to.
Which said he sparred with Thomas Carpentier, a big puncher, but maybe that prepared him to take tonight's punch, but boxing-wise, he's left a lot to be desired.
I mean, if you're just prepared for a big puncher and you know that you're fighting a guy who's got quick feet, who's smaller than you, lighter than you, quicker than you, maybe, just maybe, I would suggest you pick the wrong sparring partner. But that's just me.
Speaking of sparring partners, when Yamaguchi Falcao first came out of the Olympics, signed with Golden Boy, and came to the United States, they used him as a sparring partner for Saul Canelo Alvarez. He went one day and said, hey, I'm nobody's sparring partner. They say he's since matured and now understands the value of that quality sparring or being a sparring partner for a world champion, but nonetheless, it's just part of the process.
And he had to learn that. He had to learn that in a way of education. I'm pretty sure he would never make that statement again with anyone he sparred with that's advanced than himself. So you see it really now. He's learning, even though he's been through that training camp even more every time he fights.
All right, so Yamaguchi Falcao looking for his 13th victory as a pro.
All three judges have it scored 100-90 for your winner by unanimous decision and still undefeated, Yamaguchi Falcao.
So Teddy, you were more benevolent than the judges. They had a shutout.
I was a little kinder than the judges to Mr. Fitch. But either way,